I'd like to call the Germantown School District Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting to order on January 27th at 5 p.m. Roll call. Loth?
Here.
Medved is absent excused. President Ewert will be sitting in Medved's place.
Here.
Meg Cutts is absent excused, and I am here. Item number 3, agenda revisions and approval. Could I get a
Move
motion?
to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Loth, second by Ewert. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, approval of the December 2nd, 2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have approval, or a motion to approve the December 2nd, 2024 meeting minutes from Loth, second by Ewert. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, reports and updates. Long-range facility plan update, JP Cullen and PRA. Mr. Lord.
Yes, so following the long-range facility plan update presented at the B&G committee meeting in December, this project has dramatically progressed. The JP Cullen team has successfully, as well as PRA, has successfully completed their building assessments.
Frank.
Ooh,
Move the mic in.
a little bit more?
Yeah.
Right there, thank you. Thanks. I apologize. So both of the teams have successfully completed their building assessments, Matterport scanning, exterior facade drone assessments, and mechanical, electrical, plumbing, also known as MEP assessments, with little to no setbacks. These tasks were all completed in a timely manner and coincided with their preliminary schedule that they supplied us with. And I attached that just for your reference to kind of give it, that was pretty much from our previous B&G committee up to that early January point where a lot of it did happen over the winter break and some of those days off of school. So it went really well. And with that, the JP Cullen team and PRA member is attending the meeting tonight to give a short update and overview of their experience and findings thus far. And my understanding is they did bring a little short demo of the Matterport scanning for Amy Bell, just to kind of show what we'll be receiving, which is a pretty sharp tool.
All right. Well, good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. Just a quick little presentation. If you could go to the next slide, please. So this is the team that's, we got Jason here, Nick here, of course, myself, but here's some people behind the scenes that are helping with us, and Katie's here as well. So today we want to review our objective, talk about progress to date, and then go through current steps. And Jason's will walk through the Matterport slideshow for you here in a minute. Next slide. So our objective with the facilities condition assessment and pricing of all 7 district sites, we're going to survey and document the physical conditions and current uses of the buildings, and then with that process, we were going to put them into a 0 to 5 year need, a 6 to 10 year need, and then after that up to a 20-year need. So we're in that process right now. We're also going to do a facility capacity analysis, looking at demographics and enrollment projection to help with some of that detail. And then Nick, if you can talk about the educational space adequacy, please.
Yeah, on the educational adequacy side of the equation, we have successfully completed all of our walks of each one of these buildings, had some great time with each building leader, each principal, to understand what's working, what's not working in the facilities. And really that's all in an effort to capture 3 questions that we'll be reporting out on. One, what is the capacity in each one of these buildings? Is it adequate to serve our needs into the future? And that will be backfed when we have the enrollment projections as well from MD Roffers, so we'll map that against where those projections are. Are there any space deficiencies in any of our buildings that we should be addressing based on current programming that is happening within the facilities themselves? And then the third piece that we're looking at and we'll be reporting out in March on is what facilities might be required to accommodate any visionary programs that may or may not yet be on the horizon. So that's fed very much through our conversations with building and district level leadership.
So process to date, we wanted to establish our core team, which is the Cullen PRA team. We've brought on MSA, which is our mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection engineer, who's helping with some of those assessments. And then Point of Beginnings, which is handling the site and civil side of it, along with MD Roffers. And now Jason's going to talk about some of the things that we've done to date.
Thanks, Shannon. As Frank had alluded to earlier, we did complete all the building assessments from a physical standpoint at all the facilities, including the district office and the maintenance shed on the outskirts of the DO. We did take 3D images using Matterport. Matterport is kind of what we talked about when we were interviewing for the project to begin with. It's a 3D dollhouse view of every one of your facilities so that you could actually look at it like you're walking through this space right now. It also has capabilities of dimensioning within inside that space as you're doing a walk. And then we also did some exterior drone imagery and some heat mapping of all your sites. So we did what's called a photo mosaic, so you can actually scale the plans that we took with our drone imagery, and then as well as we did just an overall high-level heat scan of all your buildings, so you can see just a quick overview of the heat gains and losses and where any hotspots are on the site. So this, if we can get it to play, is a quick overview of Matterport. So as this is playing, you can see there's going to be a bunch of little white circles on the floor. Those are actual individual image points where the camera was set up, taking 3D imagery, and it basically, as you're walking through each hallway, you should be able to spin 360 degrees and look all the way around. You can look up, you can look down. And right now, this is the measuring tool that's part of the program where you can actually see, you can take floor to ceiling heights. It gives you lengths and cuts, and like if you look up, you can see where the alcove is to walk into each classroom. And I think we're gonna walk inside of a classroom, yep. So you can see the level of detail that it generates. It's really crystal clear, and it's completely user-friendly and maneuverable once you're actually in each space. We have these for all the facilities, like I said, including the district office. We have one office we couldn't get into, so that one is gonna show up as a black dot on there. But other than that, we were able to get in pretty much everywhere. Next slide, please. This is just the drone imagery I was speaking about. So we were able to get up high enough and actually capture every one of your sites from a bird's eye view. Looking down, you can see the full footprint of the properties and so on and so forth. And then if you look at the image on the right, that's the heat map. You can see where the hot and cold areas on there. This is just something that we included with it because when we were taking the imagery, it generates it along with it. So just to give everybody a rough idea, we do also have what is it called? I'm trying to think of the name for it. DWG file that references elevations on it as well. We did share that with Point of Beginnings as well as them taking their own drone imagery as well. So we have multiple aspects that we took things from. And basically, the DWG file is something that Nick and his team could look at and use just to see the gradients on site and show any low points or high points, or if you've got flooding issues or ponding issues, it could help identify those areas.
Just wanted to show the timeline here, and we're right on schedule, right where we want to be. In February, we'll be doing a draft report. Right now, I'd say right now it's the heavy lift of Jason's team with all the pricing that's going on, with all the information that he's gathered over break, and we'll be ready for a final report to the board on March 17th.
I just want to add one thing. I just want to thank Frank and his team and the board for helping us out and getting us into spaces when we need to get into spaces. It's the communication has been real good amongst the entire team, and I just want you guys to know what we did couldn't have been accomplished without being able to access your sites the way we were, and everybody was extremely helpful when we went on the sites as well.
That's great to hear. Frank, do you have anything else to add before I open up for questions?
No, that is all I have for this right now. Thank you.
Excuse me. We'll start off with kind of just the basic, and obviously it's still very early in the process. You're still gathering a lot of information, but was there, kind of try to be as generic and general as possible. Was there anything, as you went through everything, was there anything that you were pleasantly surprised by that was in relatively good shape or really good shape? Or is there anything else too that, let's not call it concerns, but areas of improvement that kind of rose right to the top? And you can be generic, you can be general, because I know it's still very early, but I'm just curious as to what you guys saw.
In general, you could tell when the previous work started and stopped. So there's areas that saw a lot of attention, there's a lot of areas that didn't receive much attention, and that's blatantly visible at some of the facilities. You can see that there's some cracking in some walls because of some benches in the hallways at some of the facilities, the elementary schools. But that's on the older half of the buildings in areas that really didn't receive much attention before. So for the most part, that's where a majority of the things that we found were. There's some windows and stuff that were showing some signs of deterioration and end-of-life expectancy stuff. Some exterior concerns, some of the areas were like being washed out from excessive rain or so on and so forth. There's some site work that needs a little bit of attention, just overarching. That's about as generic as I can put it right now.
Yeah, I'll report out from a user standpoint. It's interesting. Most of the building principles are new since the projects from the 2016 referendum were complete. So it kind of gives us a great opportunity to hear from somebody who wasn't involved with the design. So I think what we saw, you said, what were we pleasantly surprised with? I don't say I was surprised, but for the most part, the buildings are being used the way we envisioned them to be used. And I think the spaces, and we'll report out more in March, but the spaces that I think we would expect to see some need are where they are. And the ones that were improved are doing well.
I'll open up for any questions from the committee or other board members.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, mine would have been what was the arching theme we saw, but we've already asked that, so.
Anybody else? Well, we do thank you for your time tonight and reporting back. Obviously, we appreciate your comments about Frank and the team. We've heard great things too about how things have come together and the working relationship, so obviously that's always a good thing. And I'll speak on behalf of everybody. We look forward to continue to hear about what improvements and what other things you have to share with us. So thank you for your time tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great night, evening.
All right, item number 6, unfinished business, we have none. Item number 7, new business, updated 5-year capital improvement plan, Mr. Lord.
Yes, thank you. So on the annual updated 5-year, that is typically has typically been presented between January and February. This is just another update going into the 5-year, which brings us to the 28-29 year. Hard to believe, but that quick. Again, this is a working document. Basically, that is rated off our priorities at the time. Obviously, if things come up such as boiler failures or larger mechanicals that break down, those do get immediately addressed and added to the 5-year capital to be updated and then presented again as an update. So attached is the 5-year capital improvement plan, which is the 2024 through 2029. Highlights from this year, I guess I really shouldn't say highlights. I will say I did add the recently completed projects on the end. I believe there was a little birdie that wanted that, and I think we discussed that our last update, just to kind of recap them and not leave them within the working projects. So that's just for reference on kind of what we've been doing. That's not reaching too far back yet, but obviously it will accrue as time goes on quite a bit. So it just shows progress, and I try to keep that as a visible update for everyone. And that as well will get posted on our website once or when given approval. Let's see, getting back to this year's projects, I guess just a real short one that we had some bump forward with were window replacements at Amy Bell. We have a couple classroom windows that are failing very badly. We have a temporary fix on them now, but they are most definitely due for replacement. Otherwise, it's a lot of the roof replacements, a water main here at the high school. We have a leak with, so we need to get that replaced just for future, so we don't have to do certain things in order to winterize or de-winterize. The rooftop unit here at the high school above the cafeteria is definitely a priority. That one is, the coils are completely out of use or usable condition, but the unit itself is in good condition, so that is just for the coil replacements. And then again, I think I brought this up at a buildings committee a few back, but we're starting I am right in the midst of the pre-planning for the Dreamfield dugout replacement, so we'll be getting some updates in the near future on that. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like me to?
If I could add, Mr. Pollack and Mr. Lord, we just had a great presentation on long-term facility plan and the update from JP Cullen and PRA. This is our 5-year capital plan of yearly maintenance, not long-term maintenance. And if Ms. Altendorf, if you could speak to Fund 41 and how we fund this, just to remind the board.
Sure. So annually, as Dr. Reuter stated, we have to have a 5-year capital plan approved. We have to have that approved for 2 reasons. We have to have it because we do, part of our levy to the taxpayers is the Fund 41 capital plan. And to be able to levy on the revenue limit, you have to have this in place and approved by the board. So that's how we do that annually. The other part is Fund 46, which is our long-range capital plan. It's a there's another word for it, improvement plan for facilities. We use this as well as a long-range plan. And part of the presentation you just heard will intertwine with that in the future. But we, 4 years ago, I believe, we started the Fund 46, and we had to create a capital plan to be able to start that. And so we have been using this plan. And Dr. Reuter stated that the Capital Projects Fund 41, it has been our annual projects that we have, and you can see there's parking lots in here, and there are roof replacements in here, so big projects that we know are on a cycle that we're going to be replacing are in here. So we have to get this approved. These are projects that are going to happen this year, and then they will coincide with the report that we're going to get. So using the report that we're going to receive in the next couple of months, we will be able to intertwine the two. But because we did not have a report like that, we are using our current capital plan to be able to purchase out of Fund 41 and to plan for Fund 46.
This also helps us, obviously, as you see the list of things that need to be upgraded, replaced, or improved upon in Frank's plan, this helps us stay fiscally responsible in the current so that we don't find ourselves like you see other districts looking at referendums because of deferred maintenance year after year, and now you're asking for millions of dollars for things that didn't have a plan for annual maintenance.
Thank you for that explanation, as I think one thing we wanted to avoid was the potential confusion of you guys are doing all this work with JP Cullen and PRA, but these things, how do we know, and all of those type of things. But I think it's important to note what both of you said. One is that it's a working document. This is what we know right now. We don't know what might happen a week from now. Right. And to your point, Ms. Altendorf, it's the whole, we've started this process years ago actually now, and some of the requirements attached to that with the fund, and then also the fact that we levy kind of helps build that case, and ultimately, we will merge things together that make sense. So this list now looks the way it is, but in 6 months from now, it could look dramatically different because of everything we've learned over the next few months and the way we plan things out. So appreciate the explanation from everybody. Any questions from the committee or other board members? Mr. Loth?
Yeah, I'm curious, on the air conditioning for MacArthur and County Line, there's $100,000 for each school, future for 28, 29 capital projects. And I just don't quite know what that means, you know, so I'd be curious to know what percentage of those two schools are air conditioned now, and how much more will be air conditioned, you know, with this 100,000 that's spent, you know, and what's left to go, if anything. So I don't think a 100,000 is going to get us air conditioning, you know, completed throughout the buildings.
Right.
Because right now, myself and I don't think anyone else has any idea what percentage of those buildings are air conditioned. So it's just a curiosity, and I think we need to know that.
Sure. Yeah, and that's further out just because of the planning process that we're currently in and the need, so to say, moving forward. But I wanted to have it on there just due to that fact of this last ESSER grant or funding that we received for Kennedy. I actually began to start that on the elementaries, and then once that project really took on, it was I left that alone. But I will revisit that, and you know, as we get closer, or even I could do maybe just a different report and update separately to lay all of those out, just so everybody is, you know, well aware of what our needs might be in the future. For air conditioning, it is not it's definitely not over 50%, over 50% that is non-conditioned, but there are some areas in the older sections that maybe didn't get any updates or larger updates with the referendum that still do not have air conditioning, so.
Yeah, maybe a map, you know,
Yeah,
showing which
kind of like,
ones.
I did make one for the Kennedy that had the yellow laid out on what didn't. Yeah, I
that'd
can
be
do that.
Great.
Yeah.
So I think at those two schools, all referendum construction was air conditioned, I
Yes.
believe? Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. How did you know? And I don't know if there is anything in the schools other than that is air conditioned. Maybe the office area?
Yep.
I
Office.
don't know, is that about it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Kind of tells me.
Cafeterias
I know-
and,
Yeah, I know a little more now than earlier.
sure.
But yeah, the map would be nice.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think also, you know, I was watching the roofing as, you know, pre-referendum, it was 1 acre per year to keep up, and I think now it's, obviously, the referendum roofing isn't going to come due for a while unless somebody's noticed a real problem with, you know, some of the new construction. I don't think I'm hearing any of that, but I think the number goes probably to 1.25 acres per year, somewhere along the line. Of course, eventually the referendum construction is going to come due all at once.
Sure.
And that might be an issue, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're staying on top of it. We're really catching up with or I guess setting the bar so we don't have the roofs that we no longer have any sort of warranty or that are past that, let's just say 25-year marker, which is really that's typically where you start spending a lot of money on repairs or losing insulation, things like that.
Sure.
So we're really only, just generally speaking, about 1 year out from being pretty much caught up directly onto a schedule that then would follow until, forever.
Right. Yeah, so it looks like you've got a handle on the roofing. It looked pretty good. I don't know acres or, you know, square footage or anything, you know, that detail wasn't in here, but that's
Sure.
fine. It looks
Yeah.
like we're taking care of some fairly good-sized sections.
Yeah, definitely. That one at the high school this year, that's a really good one.
Great.
There's a lot of bodies excited to get that one, or move forward with that one, once we get to that point.
Okay, that's all I have.
Anybody else with any questions? Thank you. Yeah, so, sometimes looking at this list, you know, the numbers can be a little scary at times, but at the same time, to Dr. Reuter's point, it's better to know what we have on our plate now than ignore it and in a few years have it be a much bigger number. So appreciate it. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Move to adjourn?
Nope.
Oh, there was,
There's one for
oh, I'm sorry.
We have a motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board of the updated five-year capital improvement plan as presented. Do I have a second?
Second?
Mr. Ewert with the motion, Mr. Loth with the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Loth, do you have anything to say here at the end?
No. Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Loth with the motion to adjourn, Mr. Ewert with the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Buildings and Grounds Committee ends at 5:26 PM. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks, guys.